Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'll be breaking down our featured prelim for UFC 327. We have Aaron Pico taking on Patricio Pitbull. Well, I meant to flip the names. It's Pitbull versus Pico, but you get the idea. I gotta be honest, out of every single fight on the card, like this isn't my favorite fight per se, but it is without a doubt to me the most intriguing fight on the entire Miami card because you essentially have a Bellator title fight on the UFC prelims. That's really what it comes down to. You've got the greatest Bellator fighter of all time in Patricio Pitbull, two division champion, most title fight wins, most finishes, most knockouts, and just overall most wins. Period. He is the best Bellator fighter ever, without a doubt. Taking on Aaron Pico, who at a time, dude, was one of the most hyped prospects ever. He was supposed to be the chosen one. We're talking about a guy who got signed to Bellator at 18 after coming into the finals of the Olympic tryouts in wrestling at 18, in high school. Aaron Pico, hell of an athlete. Hell of an athlete. Very good one. So you would think if this fight happened a few years ago when Bellator was still around, this would be for featherweight gold. That's essentially what it would have been for. Now this fight's happening here, and I think it's still massive. Not as big as it would have been in Bellator. Like I said, that would have been for a title. This is the feature prelim of a UFC numbered event. Still, though, really good fighters, and especially if you're more into the global scope of MMA, not just the UFC, this is a very intriguing fight for all of you. But with that said, let's look at our two fighters. Starting with Aaron Pico, he's currently 13-5 as a professional, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. In the UFC specifically, Pico is currently 0-1. He lost his debut to Lerone Murphy, but I don't think there's really any shame in that. Now, he did get knocked out viciously by a spinning back elbow by Murphy. But still, Pico simply lost to, the undefeated fighter, who at least undefeated at the time, and still the number 3 ranked guy in the featherweight division. Now, in terms of his other 4 fights, Pico had the last loss for Aaron Pico was about 3.5 years ago when he injured his shoulder to Jeremy Kennedy, but then went on a 3-fight win streak, all by finish, against James Gonzalez, Pedro Carvalho, and then most recently, in the PFL, Henry Corliss, and that was about 2 years ago. For Patricio Pitbull, he's currently 37-8 as a professional, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. In the UFC specifically, Pitbull is 1-1. He lost his debut last year in Miami, go figure, to Yair Rodriguez in what was probably Pitbull's best chance to fight for UFC gold, taking on a top 5 guy in Rodriguez. But then got his first UFC win last July by beating Dan Ige. So for Pitbull, I think he's still highly skilled and still very good enough to beat a lot of ranked featherweights, but I just don't know if he's still skilled enough to take on the very elite. Now, in terms of his other 3 fights for Pitbull, he attempted to be one of the few, or really the second ever, 3-weight world champion in MMA by taking on Sergio Pettis at bantamweight. Lost that fight, probably just cut too much weight. Then got finished by Tizori Suzuki in Ryzen, and then before getting to the UFC, beat Jeremy Kennedy in one of Bellator's last shows. So, like I said, you got the GOAT of Bellator versus the hype prospect from Bellator. Like I said, at a UFC prelim, go figure. So, though, I think this is going to be a great fight and the most intriguing. But with that said, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Pitbull, he, like I said, is a legend. What makes Pitbull so dangerous is how complete he is. He's an explosive striker with real knockout power, high level jiu-jitsu, and good fight IQ and experience. I mean, this is a guy who knocked out Michael Chandler in his prime in 61 seconds at lightweight. So it really shows how dangerous Pitbull is everywhere. But now he's 38. You can see, like especially in the Yair fight, Pitbull is less active at times, slightly slower, and not quite has the same explosiveness he once did. Still elite, but not peak Pitbull. Now, for Aaron Pico, like I said, this guy was supposed to be the future of MMA. Everyone was talking about him. And go figure, he loses his debut to a no-name in like 61 seconds. But after that loss, Aaron Pico retooled himself and has become, and is still very, very elite. high level wrestler. And that's really his background. Like I said, this is a guy who went to the finals of, not the Olympics per se, but I think it was a trial for the Olympics it's still in high school. A very, very dangerous boxer, real knockout power in both hands, and extremely aggressive. A lot of Aaron Pico striking. It's like I said, beautiful boxing, beautiful body to head combinations, and some of the best you'll really ever see from any fighter. And physically, Pico is big, dude. He's huge, strong, and only 29. He's still in his prime, and he is going to be bigger than Pitbull. Oh, at 5'8" to 5'6", including the longer reach at like 70.5 inches to 67. But there is one big flaw of Aaron Pico. I think he is very hittable. And now I don't know if Aaron Pico's per se chinny. I mean, that spinning back elbow I think would knock out anybody. But at the very least, Pico, he's very defensively irresponsible at times. And against someone like Pitbull, that's very dangerous. So for me, this fight is about control versus chaos. But both can do both. I'd say Pitbull has I think Pico slightly has the edge in pure wrestling, size, volume, and youth. Pitbull, he has more experience, I think, the edge in experience, composure, submission danger, and fight IQ. If Pico fights smart, he can dominate this fight. If he fights recklessly, Pitbull will punish him. So here's the key factor for me. The timing in their careers. This feels like Pico entering his prime, right? At 29, well, and in half a year, he'll be 30. He'll be entering his prime. Pitbull slightly exiting out. I mean, he is 38, and he'll be like 39 pretty soon, like 3 months from now. And in a fight like this, that shift can matter because even small declines get exposed against elite, younger fighters. So for the final assessment, I think Pitbull is still dangerous. I think he can still win this fight, especially if Pico makes any mistakes. But I think Pico has the better physical tools, the better wrestling for sure, and the more consistent pressure. And if he stays disciplined enough, he should take over. So for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Aaron Pico in this fight, and I'm going to pick him via knockout. I think he uses his boxing and pressure to overwhelm Pitbull and either gets a late finish or a dominant win. So for me, like I said, I just think the youth is just too much on Pico's side. And like I said, just being the bigger and better athlete, of the two. And I also think the better striker. I think Pico should win this fight. So once again, I'm picking Aaron Pico to win. I'm going to pick him via knockout. But with that being said, that's been my prediction of this fight. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win. Until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. Remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.